What if aging wasn't just something that happens to us, but something we can influence, even slow, or in some cases, reverse? Here's a fact that may surprise you. Scientists now view aging not as an inevitable decline, but as a treatable biological process. In 2013, a landmark paper published in Cell outlined the 9 hallmarks of aging, things like mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, and epigenetic alterations. These are not vague ideas. They're measurable biological shifts that can be modified with behavior, nutrition, light exposure, and targeted interventions. And that changes everything, because when you understand what's really aging you, not just your chronological age, but the stress in your cells, the inflammation in your brain, the rigidity in your mitochondria, then you can begin to take back control. Aging isn't just about wrinkles or energy dips. It's about how your cells function, how resilient your brain is under pressure, how quickly your body recovers, and how clearly you can think, move, and connect with others even into your later decades. And here's where neuroscience and behavioral science come in. You are not stuck with the defaults of aging. Through targeted daily actions, some surprisingly simple, you can literally turn back biological time. The science is clear. Habits regulate hormones, control inflammation, reset cellular clocks, and even protect your DNA. So in this episode, we're diving into 5 science-based tools to slow aging and in some domains, begin to reverse it. You'll learn a powerful daily rhythm that resets your cellular repair systems, how specific types of movement signal your brain and body to stay young, why some forms of stress actually rejuvenate your biology, a simple molecule that mimics fasting and how to get more of it naturally, and a protocol for mental training that keeps your brain sharp, plastic, and adaptable. Every tip is backed by science, and everyone can be integrated into your life starting today. Let's begin. You might think aging begins in your joints or in your skin, but in reality, it starts much deeper, at the level of your cellular rhythms. And one of the most powerful regulators of how young or old your cells behave is something many people ignore: light. Every cell in your body operates on a 24-hour rhythm known as the circadian clock. It tells your cells when to repair, when to divide, when to rest, and when to activate energy production. But this internal rhythm doesn't run on its own. It needs to be set daily. And it's primarily synchronized by one thing: light entering your eyes in the early part of the day. Here's what the research shows. Morning sunlight, especially within the first 60 minutes after waking, sends a powerful signal to a brain structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This structure acts like your body's master timekeeper. When light hits the retina, it travels through a special non-visual pathway and essentially sets the clock for every downstream system, from cortisol, melatonin, to metabolism and cellular repair. Dr. Sachin Panda, a leading chronobiologist, has shown that even a 10-minute walk outside in the morning can significantly improve sleep quality, hormonal balance, and energy levels later in the day. More importantly, it turns on certain genes like BMAL1 and PAR2 that regulate longevity and protect against metabolic disease. So what happens when you don't get morning light? The clock drifts. Melatonin stays elevated too long, leading to grogginess and inflammation. Cortisol spikes at the wrong time. Your energy crashes mid-morning, and your body delays critical cellular repair processes. Over time, this misalignment accelerates aging, increasing risk for cardiovascular disease, insulin resistance, and cognitive decline. Now, add movement to the mix. Low-intensity movement in the morning, such as walking, cycling, or yoga, not only boosts the wakefulness signal to your brain, but also enhances insulin sensitivity, reduces cortisol variability, and increases production of brain diversity neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF supports learning, memory, and neurogenesis, literally helping your brain grow new neurons. This combination of light and movement is one of the simplest, most powerful aging interventions available, and it's completely free. A simple tool to apply is this. Within 30, 60 minutes of waking, get outside for 10, 20 minutes. No sunglasses, no screens, just natural light. Move your body lightly during this time. Walk, slow jog, or even stretching outdoors. If you wake up before sunrise, turn on as many indoor lights as possible until you can go outside, but still aim for real daylight as soon as it's available. This might sound too simple, but simplicity is not the same as triviality. In fact, foundational behaviors like this are often the most biologically potent, precisely because they influence so many systems at once. Here's a way to think about it. Every morning, your body asks, what time is it? Should I grow, repair, or conserve energy? If you answer that question with light and movement, your internal systems get aligned, your hormones pulse correctly, your brain stays clear, your cells repair when they're supposed to, and the trajectory of aging, slowly but surely, begins to shift. Let's talk about energy. Not motivation, but the cellular energy that powers every action, from muscle contraction to memory formation. That energy is produced by tiny structures in your cells called mitochondria. And here's the critical insight. As you age, your mitochondria become less efficient. They generate less energy, release more oxidative stress, and begin to fragment. This process contributes to fatigue, slower recovery, brain fog, and even diseases like Alzheimer's and type 2 diabetes. But the science is clear. Mitochondrial decline is not inevitable. You can strengthen your mitochondria. And one of the most effective, scientifically validated ways to do that is Zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 refers to a level of aerobic exercise where your heart rate is elevated, but you can still maintain a conversation. So it's not sprinting, it's not high intensity. It's steady, sustained, and surprisingly gentle. Think brisk walking, light cycling, rowing, or hiking at a pace where you're breathing heavier but still in control. So why does Zone 2 matter for aging? Because it uniquely stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new, healthy mitochondria. Research out of the Mayo Clinic and the University of Copenhagen shows that consistent Zone 2 training improves insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, and increases the number and function of mitochondria in muscle and brain tissue. In one study, older adults who performed regular aerobic training saw a reversal of age mitochondrial decline. Their cells began to resemble those of much younger individuals at the mitochondrial level. Here's how to apply it. Aim for 3 to 4 sessions per week of Zone 2 activity. Each session should last 30 to 45 minutes, long enough to sustain fat oxidation and stimulate mitochondrial growth. You'll know you're in Zone 2 if you can breathe through your nose and speak in short sentences, but not sing. You don't need fancy tech, but if you wear a heart rate monitor, Zone 2 is roughly 67% of your maximum heart rate. And that's roughly calculated as 220 minus your age multiplied by 0.6 to 0.7. The beauty of this practice is in its accessibility. You can walk. You can use a stationary bike. You can go for a long hike in nature, which, by the way, has its own anti-aging benefits through reduced cortisol and increased parasympathetic activation. You might ask, why not high-intensity training instead? Isn't that better? High-intensity training has its place, but for mitochondrial support and metabolic flexibility, especially as we age, Zone 2 is king. It builds endurance at the cellular level. It teaches your body to burn fat more efficiently. And it does all of this with a low risk of injury or burnout. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing because we're just getting started. Everything we talk about here is designed to give you real tools, grounded in science, that you can start using today. Now, here's a mindset shift that can be empowering. Think of every Zone 2 session not as a workout, but as a mitochondrial upgrade. You're giving yourselves the signal to stay young, to stay adaptable, resilient, and energy efficient. And the effects are cumulative. Just 2 to 3 months of consistent Zone 2 training can dramatically improve energy levels, sleep quality, blood glucose regulation, and even mood. So the next time you lace up your shoes or step outside for a walk, know this: you're not just moving your body, you're sending a message to your biology. Stay young, stay strong, stay sharp. One of the paradoxes of aging well is this. To become more resilient, you must regularly experience controlled stress. Not chronic stress, but short, acute, intentional stressors that trigger adaptation. This concept is called hormesis, and it's one of the most powerful frameworks we have for slowing and even reversing cellular aging. Hormesis is the biological principle that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but in a very specific way. It describes how mild stressors like cold, heat, fasting, or certain plant compounds stimulate your body's repair systems, increasing resistance to disease, inflammation, and oxidative damage. Two of the most potent and accessible hormetic tools, cold exposure and heat therapy. Let's start with cold. When your body is exposed to cold through a cold shower, an ice bath, or even a brisk plunge in a lake, several important things happen. First, your norepinephrine levels spike, a neurotransmitter that sharpens focus, boosts mood, and reduces inflammation. Studies from Dr. Rhonda Patrick and others show that cold exposure increases norepinephrine by up to 200, 300%. And those levels can stay elevated for hours. More importantly, for aging, cold also activates cold shock proteins, special molecules that protect against muscle breakdown, repair damaged DNA, and enhance mitochondrial function. In one study published in Aging Cell, brief cold exposure increased mitochondrial density and insulin sensitivity, both key metrics in preventing age disease. Regular cold exposure also helps regulate brown fat activity, which supports thermogenesis and metabolic flexibility, vital for maintaining a healthy body composition over time. Now, let's talk about heat. Sauna use in particular has been extensively studied, especially in Finland, where it's part of the culture. Research from the University of Eastern Finland followed over 2,000 men for 20 years. Those who used a sauna 4 to 7 times per week had a 65% lower risk of Alzheimer's disease and over 40% lower risk of all-cause mortality. Why? Because heat stress triggers the release of heat shock proteins, which, much like cold shock proteins, help your body fold and repair damaged proteins, clear out cellular debris, a process called autophagy, and reduce chronic inflammation. Heat also increases growth hormone by up to 200, 500%, improves cardiovascular health, and boosts BDNF, supporting both brain function and cellular resilience. Here's how to apply these tools safely and effectively. For cold, start with 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your shower. For deeper effects, 311 minutes total per week of deliberate cold exposure is a sweet spot, according to Dr. Andrew Huberman. Breathe slowly, don't tense. The goal is to stay calm under stress, which reinforces nervous system resilience. For heat, use a dry sauna or infrared sauna for 15-20 minutes 2 to 4 times per week. Make sure to hydrate and cool down gradually. Avoid use immediately after intense workouts. Let your core temperature normalize first. You don't need to do both every day. In fact, alternating between cold and heat, known as contrast therapy, can yield additional benefits for circulation, detoxification, and mood regulation. A question to ask yourself: when was the last time you deliberately got uncomfortable for the sake of long-term vitality? These hormetic stressors, while mildly uncomfortable in the moment, act like a cellular reset button. They signal your body to adapt, repair, and rejuvenate. And unlike pills or supplements, these interventions engage your biology in a holistic, systems-wide upgrade. So next time you're standing under a cold shower or sweating in a sauna, remember, you're not just enduring discomfort. You're building anti-fragility. You're rewiring your brain and rebuilding your body to age better, not just longer. If you could take a single action each night that cleared toxic waste from your brain, repaired your muscles, optimized your hormones, and slowed the aging of your DNA, would you do it? That's exactly what happens during deep sleep. While all stages of sleep matter, deep sleep, also known as slow wave sleep, is where some of the most profound anti-aging processes occur. And the science behind it is stunning. During deep sleep, your brain enters low-frequency delta waves. Neurons fire in synchrony, and something remarkable happens. The lymphatic system, a kind of nighttime sanitation network, flushes out metabolic waste, including beta amyloid and tau proteins, which are strongly associated with Alzheimer's and other forms of cognitive decline. Think of it like your brain taking out the trash. And if you don't get enough deep sleep, the trash starts to pile up. But it's not just about brain health. Deep sleep also triggers human growth hormone, HGH, release, a key player in tissue repair, fat metabolism, and muscle maintenance. In fact, the majority of daily HGH is secreted in the first third of the night during your deepest sleep cycles. Studies show that disrupted or insufficient deep sleep is linked to faster telomere shortening, a marker of cellular aging. In contrast, consistent high-quality sleep has been associated with improved insulin sensitivity, lower inflammation, better immune function, and a longer lifespan. So how can you protect and enhance your deep sleep? Here are 5 science-backed protocols. Honor the 90-minute rule. Your sleep cycles run in roughly 90-minute intervals. Going to bed and waking up in alignment with those cycles rather than in the middle of one leads to less grogginess and more restorative sleep. Try this. Set your sleep window in 90-minute increments, e.g. 7.5 or 9-hour. Control light exposure. Deep sleep is initiated by a rise in melatonin, which is blocked by artificial light. Dim your lights at least 90 minutes before bed. Use blue light blockers or apps like Flux. Prioritize morning sunlight exposure to anchor your circadian rhythm. Cool your core. Your body must drop in core temperature by about 1-2 DGF to initiate deep sleep. Keep your room around 65 DGF, 18 DGC. Avoid hot showers or intense exercise in the hour before bed. Try cooling mattress pads or breathable sheets if needed. Cut caffeine by 2 p.m. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 8 hours, meaning even a late afternoon cup can reduce your deep sleep by up to 20%, according to research from Stanford. If you're sensitive, shift to green tea or decaf after lunch. Wind down your mind. A racing mind is one of the biggest blockers to deep sleep. Build a pre-sleep ritual that trains your nervous system to shift into parasympathetic mode, like stretching or yoga, journaling or gratitude reflection, slow breathing, 4 to 3 breaths per minute, no screens in bed at all. Here's something empowering. Just 1 week of improving your sleep can lead to measurable changes in glucose regulation, cortisol rhythm, and even skin appearance. Your body responds quickly because sleep is not passive, it's biological therapy. If this kind of science-backed practical insight is helping you, take a second to like this video or subscribe to the channel. It supports the work we do here and ensures you don't miss tools like this that can change the way you age and live. The truth is, we can't out-supplement or out-train poor sleep, but we can build a lifestyle that supports deep, restorative, rejuvenating sleep night after night. And when we do, we're not just sleeping better, we're aging in reverse. If you had to choose one form of exercise to slow aging across every system of the body, from brain to bone, resistance training would be it. Not cardio, not yoga, not HIIT, strength training. Why? Because lifting weights doesn't just build muscle. It communicates with your DNA. Let me explain. We often think of aging as a process of decay, losing muscle, strength, flexibility. But what science shows is that age decline is largely a result of disuse. The body is highly adaptive, and if we stop challenging it, it begins to downregulate. Muscle isn't just for movement. It's an endocrine organ. When you contract skeletal muscle through resistance training, it releases myokines, signaling molecules that influence everything from inflammation to metabolism to brain function. These myokines act as messengers, telling your cells, we're still active, still vital, keep repairing and growing. In a 2020 study published in Frontiers in Physiology, older adults who engaged in regular strength training showed gene expression patterns more similar to younger individuals, especially in pathways related to mitochondrial function and protein synthesis. Even more striking is research from the University of Alabama, which found that older adults who strength trained twice per week for 6 months reversed their epigenetic age by nearly 3 years. That's biological time rewound. So what exactly happens when you lift weights? You create mechanical tension in the muscles, which activates mTOR, the master pathway for muscle protein synthesis and cellular growth. You stress the bones, which increases bone mineral density, reducing fracture risk. You elevate testosterone and growth hormone levels, both critical for tissue repair and metabolic health. You improve insulin sensitivity, a key factor in preventing chronic disease and cognitive decline. And the benefits extend far beyond the body. Strength training enhances brain neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which supports neuroplasticity. It boosts dopamine, improving motivation and drive. And in people over 60, it's been shown to increase hippocampal volume, protecting against memory loss. Now, the best part, you don't need to become a power lifter. Here's a practical science-based protocol. Frequency, 2 to 3 full body sessions per week is ideal. More isn't always better. Recovery is when growth happens. Exercises. Focus on compound movements that use large muscle groups, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, or rows, overhead presses, push-ups, or bench press, load and volume. Aim for 3 or 4 sets of 6-10 reps per exercise using a weight that brings you near failure. That level of intensity is what activates the adaptive response. Tempo, slow, controlled reps with emphasis on the eccentric phase, lowering the weight, maximize tension and growth. Rest and recovery. Between sets, 60, 120 seconds. Between sessions, at least 48 hours before hitting the same muscle groups again. And remember, consistency is far more important than perfection. Even body weight training, if done with effort and progressive overload, can yield profound effects. A question to ask yourself: are you training your body in a way that tells your biology, stay young, stay strong, stay adaptable? Because strength is not just about aesthetics. It's the biological signal of resilience. The stronger you are, the more anti-fragile you become. To stress, to injury, to aging itself. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 60s, or beyond, strength training is not optional. It's medicine. And the longer you do it, the younger your body behaves. If you wanted to engineer the fastest way to age your body, to wrinkle your skin, inflame your brain, and drain your energy, you designed the modern diet. High in sugar, low in fiber, and full of refined carbohydrates. Let's break down why sugar accelerates aging and what you can do to stop it. When you eat sugar or rapidly digested starches like white bread, pastries, or sugary drinks, your blood glucose spikes. This triggers a surge of insulin, your body's glucose-lowering hormone. Over time, repeated spikes cause insulin resistance, a core driver of chronic inflammation, weight gain, and cellular aging. But it goes deeper than that. One of the most damaging processes activated by excess sugar is glycation. This is when sugar molecules bind to proteins or fats in your body, creating harmful compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. A fitting acronym. AGEs stiffen your tissues, damage collagen, and promote oxidative stress. They're directly linked to skin aging. AGEs damage the elasticity of collagen, leading to wrinkles and sagging. Brain decline. They contribute to neuroinflammation and are found in high concentrations in people with Alzheimer's. Blood vessel damage. AGEs make arteries less flexible, raising cardiovascular risk. Reduced kidney function. They accelerate wear on filtration systems in the kidneys. A 2015 study in the Journal of Gerontology found that higher dietary AGE intake was correlated with shorter telomere length, a marker of faster cellular aging. Another study from Mount Sinai showed that reducing AGE consumption improved insulin sensitivity, oxidative stress, and inflammation in just weeks. So what's the antidote? It's not about zero sugar. It's about minimizing high glycemic refined carbohydrates and shifting toward whole, fiber-rich, low-age foods. Here's a science-backed protocol to reduce sugar's aging impact. Swap refined carbs for resistant starches. Replace white rice, white bread, and pasta with quinoa, lentils, sweet potatoes, oats. These stabilize blood sugar and feed healthy gut bacteria, which also influence inflammation and mood. Follow the 3-ingredient rule. If a food has more than 3 added sugars in the ingredients list, like glucose, fructose, maltodextrin, it's probably aging you. Use this as a mental filter. Simple, powerful. Balance every meal with protein, fat, and fiber. These 3 components slow glucose absorption and reduce insulin spike. Think salmon plus greens plus olive oil, or eggs plus avocado plus berries. Time your indulgences. If you're going to enjoy sugar, pair it with movement. Have dessert after a protein-rich meal or before a walk. This helps muscles absorb glucose, blunting the spike. Hydrate before you snack. Mild dehydration often mimics sugar cravings. Drink a glass of water, wait 10 minutes, and see if the urge passes. This simple pause builds awareness and breaks habitual patterns. It's worth noting, cutting sugar isn't just physical, it rewires your brain. Excess sugar hijacks dopamine pathways, leading to cravings, mood swings, and a diminished sense of reward. Reducing it improves focus, motivation, and emotional regulation. And here's the beauty, your palate resets fast. After just 10-14 days of lower sugar intake, your taste buds become more sensitive to natural sweetness. Berries taste sweeter, cravings soften, and real food starts to satisfy. One of the most motivating effects, your skin starts to glow. Seriously, collagen rebuilds, puffiness fades, and inflammation markers drop visibly. So if you want to age in reverse, or at least with power and grace, cutting refined sugar is not punishment. It's an act of self-respect, because every bite you take is a signal to your biology. Do I want to decay or regenerate? Let's step back and look at what we've learned, not just in terms of science, but in terms of what it means to live longer, feel younger, and take charge of your biology. You've just explored 6 tools, all rooted in cutting-edge neuroscience, cellular biology, and behavioral psychology that can profoundly influence how you age. Sleep deeply and consistently, because your brain and body do their repair work while you rest. Use cold exposure strategically to reduce inflammation, increase dopamine, and stimulate longevity pathways. Fast wisely, not to deprive, but to trigger powerful rejuvenation processes like autophagy. Train for strength, because lifting weights doesn't just build muscle, it tells your DNA to stay youthful. Cut back on sugar and refined carbs to protect your brain, preserve your skin, and prevent the cellular rust that accelerates aging. And the unspoken 7th, make these tools part of a lifestyle, not a punishment. Here's what the research shows us again and again. Aging is not just the passage of time, it's the accumulation of cellular damage that we either accelerate or slow through our daily choices. And the most powerful part, many of these changes don't require huge leaps. They require intention.